Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're returning to covering the long-detested MTV Decoded, starring Franchesca Ramsey, of course. It's been a long while since we've seen this vile wench show her face online, since we scared her off the internet last year. Now this wasn't a Jeff Holiday, I'm proud I bullied Rage After Storm off the internet kind of thing.
It's because of the Rage After Storm thing. We made a video in response to us bullying Rage After Storm. And make no mistake, we bullied this shit after Rage After the Storm. We bullied her off social media. She took herself off that shit. We bullied the fuck out of her.
Have a good one, guys.
No, Ramsey and Decoded have been properly debunked time and time again. They've tried to put their bad and racist ideas out there for years. So commentary channels like me, Andy Worski, and others took the time to make videos responding to their retarded points. Dumb ideas like all cops are racist, or you can't be racist to white people, and the classic marijuana laws are racist. Bullshit like that. If you want to catch up, I've got a whole playlist of MTV Decoded and Franny debunks on my main page called Franchesca Ramsey Ruins Everything, link below. Now, I almost thought this meme was dead after Francesca's videos had been disliked into oblivion for years. MTV seemed to finally start getting a little shook, so they changed things up. First, they tried moving Decoded from the MTV News channel onto their main YouTube channel, called just MTV, but things still didn't go too well there. And now, in the present, in 2018, it's been about 8 months and we haven't heard anything from Decoded. Until now. Last week, Franny and Decoded finally resurfaced again, this time on the MTV Facebook page. The new video is called Axe vs. Ask. This should be good. Let's check it out. But first, a word from today's sponsor, Virtual Shield. Online privacy is more important now than ever. That's why I teamed up with Virtual Shield again to offer you guys a great way to protect yourselves and your families. In short, Virtual Shield is the easiest VPN service to use in the whole world, ever, of all time, the best. It's also very cheap. For less than $5 per month, you could protect you and your family's internet privacy with one of their world-renowned VPNs. And for those who don't know, VPNs are virtual private networks that basically funnel your internet signature through Virtual Shield's secure servers. And Virtual Shield added a new safety feature, which gives users the ability to block access to their device's cameras and microphones. That means no more spying on you, no more government listening into your convos, and no more Facebook hearing what you talk about and suggesting ads based on your private conversations. That's just creepy. Virtual Shield is easy and very affordable. All you do is go to their website, link in the description below, sign up and install their app or extension. They have extensions for all the top web browsers like Chrome, Firefox, and Opera, and they have mobile apps. It's very intuitive and super safe. Totally worth the $5 a month. Also, you can use the code NOBS for an additional 20% off, which also helps support the show and keep No Bullshit going. So if you're worried about your privacy and have thought about getting a VPN service, there you go. Virtual Shield is the very best and has a very fair price. You won't be disappointed. And just this week, Virtual Shield launched its new app for Mac and Apple users, so why don't you start off 2018 right with a private, secure, and affordable connection at Virtual Shield. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's check out the Franchesca video.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Did you notice I said axe instead of ask? And does it even matter?
Yeah, I noticed you said axe because you sound fake and forced when you try and sound ghetto and black, Franny. You're about as black as the family on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Let's be real, Franny. You've got a white husband and a cartoony Barney-like voice. I'm more black than you. At least I was born in East St. Louis.
Pronouncing ask as axe is a colloquialism that a lot of people in various parts of the country use, but it's often most associated with people in the South and more specifically, black people. There's a weird stigma around the usage of axe in the English language. We've been taught to think of axe as a pronunciation used by poor and working class white folks, and especially by black people who speak African American Vernacular English, or AAVE, which was previously known as Ebonics.
No, we're not taught that, Francesca. We see that in our day-to-day lives. You don't see educated rich people saying axe in the wild. No, it's always low-class people, typically from the South. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with saying axe. Axe away if that's how you want to speak, but let's not pretend people think it's lowbrow because schools taught us to think that. The only thing the schools are teaching is how to speak proper American English, which should not involve saying the word axe, unless you're talking about chopping wood. Using axe as ask is slang or dialect at best. At worst, it is a sign of low intelligence or, at the least, the lack of a proper education.
And a lot of people believe that anyone who uses axe is ignorant, uneducated, and probably lower class. But guess what? The pronunciation axe has actually been part of the English language for centuries. In fact, once upon a time, aka as far back as the 8th century, axe was considered the correct pronunciation. Ever heard of a little old writer named Geoffrey Chaucer? He had axe all up in the Cadbury Tales.
Okay, well, this is pretty embarrassing. I think you mean Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, which is what your graphic here spells out correctly. But you said Cadbury Tales, which isn't a thing. Cadbury eggs are a thing though, but I don't think Chaucer had anything to do with making those chocolate treats. And the fact that you said this without flinching, Franny, and recorded it, and still made the edit and put it into your finalized published video, well, it really shows how uneducated you are. Quite contrary to this wannabe smart, pseudo-intellectual defense you're trying to give for the slang term axe. Your true colors are showing, Franny. We all know you're just trying to defend the blacks. Again, and as if this Cadbury fuck-up didn't prove how uneducated Franny is, let's look back at the video's description where she misspelled the word unintelligent, which is also pretty ironic because she is unintelligent. But I guess that's the catch when you are. You're not smart enough to spell the word that describes you, and it's kind of sad.
Oh, and in the first ever English translation of the Bible, one well-known verse originally went, "Axe and it shall be given." According to the Oxford English Dictionary, we can trace the origins of axe all the way back to this Old English verb. Saying ask didn't really become a thing until around the 17th century.
This stroll through history is a typical Francesca move. She loves to go back in time hundreds and sometimes thousands of years to try and warp and misrepresent things in the present. Black and white photos of slavery pre-1865 are commonplace here on Decoded. They're often used to say black people in the present didn't do nothing. And in today's case, we've got Franny cherry-picking minor, forgettable examples of the word axe from the Bible in the 17th century, as if axe is a whole separate word from ask in the present. It's not. When people say axe in current year, that's their way of saying the word ask. Just like how a Mexican American might say yob instead of job. There's nothing wrong with this either. I mean, accents and dialects aren't necessarily something to be shameful for. But again, let's not pretend this is some sort of ancient special word, or that the Southern Americans and blacks who use it are secret geniuses. This is we was kangs type shit, and it's simply not true. And it's just another instance of Franny trying to church things up for her beloved class of people.
But if it's been around forever, why is it so stigmatized today? Have you not watched this show before? It's because of classism and racism.
Jesus Christ, Franny, you truly are insane, which is defined by doing the same thing over and over again while expecting different results. I've been watching your show, and what I noticed is you blame everything on racism and sometimes classism, but you're never right about it. You've been called out for it over and over again too, yet you still soldier on with this same wacko premise. That's why I say you're insane, Francesca. You never learn. You've been taken down over and over again, and not just with rebuttals either. If you were paying attention to the ratings and comments on your videos, they too have indicated how extremely off base you are, repeatedly. And as for the supposed racist reasons people look down on others who say ask instead of ask, well, this isn't really a race thing at all. White people from the South say ask too, and they get shit for it too, I'm sure. Not because of racism or classism, but because they're not saying the fucking word right. This is like correcting a child for saying broccoli instead of broccoli. And then Franny comes in and says broccoli actually has historical significance. Look here and here. Don't correct people for saying broccoli. That's racist. And needless to say, this whole line of thinking is absolutely absurd.
Think about it. When was the last time you saw a national news anchor with a heavy Southern accent? And we even made the same mistake on this show. I was rightfully called out for using a Southern accent as a shortcut for a character who was uninformed about race.
Did you just admit you made a mistake? That was unexpected. It's kind of cute though, and a little convenient. Sounds like you used a Southern voice to portray a racist before and you got called out for it. I think I remember that one too, but I don't believe you're truly sorry here for it. You're sorry because you got called out, and now you seem pretty fucking hypocritical since today you're making this video trying to prop up Southern accents and dialects. Franny knew this would come up in a response video like mine, so she tried to get out ahead of it. But I still say this is damning though. She uses a Southern accent as a stereotypical dumb racist one in a video, yet today she's trying to justify low-educated blacks who use the word axe instead of ask. Pretty fucking hypocritical if you ask me. And just because you mention it and call it out doesn't make it less so.
The point is, this hierarchy of dialects gets replicated throughout culture, and sometimes we don't even realize it. And when it comes to AAVE specifically, the classist stereotypes associated with axe become racialized. Now, it's far from everyone, but lots of black people use AAVE because it's a real, distinct social dialect in English with its own complexities, a rich history, and huge cultural significance.
I love how she tries to church up Ebonics by calling it AAVE. No one's fallen for that crap, Franny. Ebonics is broken English, and it's spoken by blacks who haven't learned the language properly because they're usually poor and uneducated. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to hate on people who talk that way, but I'm also not going to buy into this delusional propaganda MTV is pushing to try try and save the blacks.
But because it's associated with black people, and black people have historically been stereotyped as ignorant, uneducated, and lower class, too often many people hear AAVE and think you're not smart.
Well, these stereotypes aren't just made up out of nowhere. People think others who speak Ebonics aren't smart because that's usually the case. But I'm not saying we should judge people for speaking Ebonics either. It's just, I mean, come on. How hard is it to say ask? Really? If you can't switch ax to ask, I would say, yeah, you're not very smart, or you're just not trying. It's really not that hard. And I think Franny and MTV are certainly overcomplicating this thing. Why? Because they're starkly pro-black and vehemently anti-white. This video allows them to not only stand up for blacks by overcomplicating the word ax and justifying it, it also allows them to hate on the whites by calling them racist and judgmental for thinking people who can't speak proper English are uneducated and stupid, which I don't think most people believe. Not to that extreme, but they are right about one thing. Ax does not mean ask. Ax is a thing used to chop wood, not to question.
For example, rapper and Instagram star Cardi B has said some pretty progressive things about women's body autonomy in addition to being very sex positive. But because of her voice and the way she speaks, some people have tried to discredit or downplay the intelligence of the things she said.
Well, it's nice to hear you defend Cardi B's speaking here with your haughty-taughty white girl voice, but let's hear her speak for herself. I got a feeling you're being a little deceptive here.
Now, we've talked about you here before on Hot Topics.
Are you there? Are you there?
Wow, that's not a good look. But maybe Cardi gets better though. Let's see.
So you've known him since last Super Bowl?
No, you know what? You asking me too much questions. I'm getting nervous. I'm getting hot now, I'm getting nervous.
Nope. And this is the woman Franny is trying to say is smart. Cardi is really smart and progressive. Sure she is. Cardi is really smart and progressive, but she just sounds like a retard. Sure. You see how this whole argument of Franny's comes off a lot different once you hear the Ebonics and shitty English for yourselves? I mean, don't you wonder why Franny doesn't speak in AAVE herself here? Because I sure do, but I already know why. Because it would make her sound like an idiot. We know it, and she knows it.
Even Jesse Jackson said at the time, you don't have to go to school to learn to talk garbage. Actually, it's too bad more schools don't teach enough history and geography so people understand why some of us speak the way we do.
You don't speak that way, Francesca. You speak like a 90s cartoon character who no one would guess was black. As much as you want to lump yourself in with the Ebonics speakers, you're not one of them. You're a rich girl from New York City who never had to work a real job a day in her life. And now you feel guilty because you realize there's so many poor, uneducated, Ebonics speaking blacks out there. So of course Franny defends them the only way she knows how, calling everyone who disagrees with her racist. Just priceless.
Because sometimes a person getting a job may all depend on saying ask instead of ax. And you may be thinking, well, that's just the way the language cookie crumbles. But honestly, is that really fair? What about people who are just as intelligent and capable, but haven't mastered the art of code switching or just don't want to?
If someone can't learn to speak proper English, then they're not very smart, are they? Sure, there are people who are geniuses but lack language learning and speaking abilities, but that's very rare. Bottom line is, if people wanted to, they could speak proper English. It just takes a little effort.
So to all the grammar popos out there, lighten up, okay? If the way someone pronounces ask determines how you feel about them, maybe take a step back and ask yourself, why? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Decoded.
Well, your jokes are as unfunny as ever, Franny. And again, I don't think people are necessarily hardcore judging others for speaking Ebonics either. That's just Francesca over-exaggerating to try and make it seem super racist to even think twice when someone is speaking Ebonics or says ax, let alone you try and correct them or something, which is as simple as just saying, hey, it's ask, not ax. Now, I'm not saying people should be doing that out in the wild, but if you're in a school or at a home setting, I say it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with learning proper English, obviously. In the end, Franny is back at it again with her same old shtick, even after she's had to run away from 2 MTV channels on YouTube. Now she's resorting to Facebook as her last gasp, I guess. Fortunately for her, there's no downvote button on Facebook, but there are comments. So check out the link below and watch the video for yourself. And if you feel so inclined, leave a comment telling MTV what you think. And like I said before, I'm not saying I want to kick Franny off the internet, but her bad, racist, anti-white ideas deserve to be countered and shamed into oblivion. If she won't stop her crazy SJW rhetoric, then we can't stop combating it. What do you guys think? Is ax really something we should be defending and propping up here? Is it really that hard to just say ask? And why is Franny really defending this crap? Comment your thoughts below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.